Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to try to scoot myself back here in this corner a bit. Good morning. Can you see? Are we here? It is Thursday, February 23rd, 2022, and it is time for the morning dew. I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 89th Districts. Happy to serve. Looking forward to working in the 93rd district where where we'll be shifting to because of redistricting. So let's get right into it. We have only a couple more. Oops, that's wrong. We have only a little bit of more days to go. Let me go ahead and show. Session ends on Saturday, so we'll be working all the way through Saturday on our final legislation and things like that. What's happening right now is we're just working with the Senate to get bills in a posture to where they can go to the governor. We've got to agree on things on both sides. We talked a little bit about that before. Conference reporting, just if we can't agree, then a bill doesn't become a law. And that's how I think that's the important part of this, is that because our chambers are politically divided or different, uh, a lot of most of the stuff has some balance on both sides of what we expect to see or what we want for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, when these things go to when they go to the governor, I can't even tell you what that's going to look like. Nothing is safe. Last time we saw the governor veto things that were passed unanimously on both in both chambers and just vetoed it. So um, just because maybe you saw us post something or saw another legislator post something to say, oh, it passed the Senate, it passed the House, that has no bearing on what the governor may or may not decide to do. So good morning. Good morning. It's good to have you guys here this morning. So that has zero bearings. The important thing to know is that you're going to start seeing, and I know some of you may, if you keep up with this stuff. If not, that is perfectly okay. That says 1 week. We are in our last week of session. I should probably say that at the bottom. We are in our last week of session. Is you're going to start seeing legislators resigning left and right. So, because of redistricting, folks are going to have to start getting prepared. If if they are going to have to move to run in a different district, they have to resign. So you'll see a lot of letters of resignations, or we'll start talking about reconvene. And just to give you a little bit of a backstory on what reconvene is when we come back to the legislator in April to go through the legislation that the governor has approved or made amendments to. Amendments is made changes to. So when we go back, I can't tell you what the Senate or the House will look like, because a lot of people will have had to resign, or if they're a House member and they've decided to run for the Senate, they have to resign to prepare for this massive overhaul of election season. Now, we got two bills out of the 2 out of 13 out of the General Assembly. So one bill has already made it through the House and the Senate. That's our guardian ad litem bill, making sure that if a guardian ad litem is appointed, that they are able to get financial documents in an expeditious manner to ensure that there's no financial abuse and things like that. That's a court appointed person for another person. One of our bill that's I think really important just got put in conference yesterday. That's our bill to make sure that if the police can't protect someone who's been a victim of a crime and they're eligible for victim compensation, that they still get those benefits and not be punished because they won't participate with police because their life is in danger. I'm telling y'all, the Senate has shocked me a lot this year on some of the bills that have came through, and then on some of the actions. So I'm not going to say I'm nervous about this bill, but I'm concerned, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come to an agreement with the Senate on what this bill could look like. The problem that we're having is money. That's what you'll hear probably a lot of times is how much does something cost? How much does it cost, and what does that mean for the Commonwealth? So that's a big deal. And I should have I should know something between today and tomorrow as to whether or not that bill is going to make it to be reviewed by the governor. Really excited this evening. I see Catherine put this here. Good morning. Good morning. Tonight is going to be our female veteran roundtable. It's one of the last events that I will be doing this session. Really excited. It's here in Richmond at the War Memorial. I'm trying to make sure I say the right time because sometimes I'll be looking at calendars, trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be 5 minutes before I'm supposed to be there. Let's double check. I don't see it on my. I believe it's at 7:30 tonight, or let me double check. But yes, tonight we have that. That's going to be a really good time. Thank you. We're going to do more and more. You're going to see us do more and more things for women veterans as we go along. Veterans, period. There's a lot of work to be done there. But like I told some of my colleagues is that, oftentimes we're doing these things that feel good for us, right? Like we feel like we're doing something good for veterans, but it's not actually, it's not helping some of the things that we're hearing that veterans need right now, or that family members, military families that are here need right now. So these roundtables are so important, so important. So Catherine will be happy and excited to have you there. Please don't hesitate if you have any questions, comments, or concerns to go ahead and put them in the chat, whether it's about session or next steps. Last night, we did have our first volunteer town hall as we get ready to transition into full-on election season. Really excited about the projects that we have going on. We will do another volunteer town hall probably next Saturday or so once we transition, because there are so many opportunities. We're doing this unorthodox. I'll tell you what I told the folks that showed up last night. The unfortunate thing that we have as people in our city, in Norfolk, maybe I should share this picture with you. The unfortunate thing we have is that our city is very Democratic, right? Which means that many of us, our values align. There's a small population of folks that are not Democrats, right? I'm going to show this map because I think it's important for you all to see about what our district looks like. Let me share it so you can take a look here, and why this is important, and why I think that you all should understand this, and why we're able to do some of the radical things that we can. Let me present this. All right. So looking at this picture, right? This is Norfolk. This picture is Norfolk. This is the new district that we will share will be the 93rd district. But that doesn't matter in the grand. That matters, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of this because the blue are the areas that you see are typically Democratic. The red are the areas that you see are typically Republican leaning. Because we're so heavily leaning one way, it allows for anyone that comes out of a primary that's a Democrat, 9 times out of 10, if they're in the the majority of the city, they're going to win that election. On that same vein, I think that breeds a mentality that you don't have to do much to get elected if you're a Democrat here. And I don't subscribe to that. I think we have to work for it every single time. And so what we're working on doing is finding ways to still make sure that we elevate what it means to be an elected official in this city, because that's really important. That needs to be elevated. Guys, fully understand this is a part-time job with full-time problems, but we do need to step our game up because the needs are greater. Quite frankly, from the time that I moved here till now, the needs are greater and the resources are getting greater, and we have to do a better job of resourcing folks. So in this district, there's roughly 56,000 voters. Now, each district should have about 80 to 82,000 people. So only 56,000 are voters, and it's 70 to 75% Democratic leaning, right? So that's an advantage, right? Let me speak to the privilege that I have. That means that what that says to me is that, I'm coming from a place of privilege, right? It exists. As a Democrat in the city of Norfolk, I have a very much so a privilege in the game. I could say, hey, I don't care about people that don't have the same beliefs as me and just keep it moving. Or I could, I could do that. But coming from the, community-based work, I recognize many of the problems that we're seeing do not have a political affiliation on them. So they have different ideologies, right? They definitely do. And I'm always going to recognize what my district is asking me. Let me stop sharing. I'm always going to honor and respect what the district is asking me and make decisions based off that. But we have to stay close to the folks in the district to understand when that need shifts, when that ideology shifts, because it can't just be Jackie. So we are going to campaign a little bit differently. So if you are a person if you're a certified doer, that understands the value of building community and building community programs and solving problems, then this is going to be a campaign for you, because we've got projects and we've got opportunities to get involved. The first thing that we have to do is get certified and get on the ballot. That's probably the thing. So the month of March, we'll be getting our 125 plus signatures so that we can certify and get on the ballot. And we ask that you guys consider joining us on this journey of looking at how we campaign differently and then how we elevate what it means to be an elected official in our city. You can't just put the party behind your name and think, yeah, well, I made it. This is it. And same thing, you can't just talk the talk and then just do that every couple years and think we're good. That's not how it works. It's hard work, but I think collectively elected officials in our city, we're going to have to do a better job of working together on the state, on the local level, and the federal level. And we're going to have to do a better job cross-talking across responsibilities. So the responsibility of the school board, the responsibility of council, the responsibility of the delegate, the senator, the congressman, and the U.S. senator. Like those, we've got to do a better job. And we're going to create a space for that and always have ourselves in a position where we can listen more, talk less, be attentive while being doers. But we're really, really excited about that. Lastly, I'll talk about how we're going to close out this session. The last thing that is coming on the docket for the session is going to be reproductive rights and care. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, like I think I may have said this before, none of the bills that had to do with access to reproductive care were docketed. So we didn't hear not one bill, not one, which is unfortunate, which means nothing's probably going to change. However, the folks that believe differently about access to care went hard at us this whole season about reproductive care, and they're in control, right? So right now the Republicans are in control of the House. They get to decide what bills get heard, what bills don't get heard. Like I had a bill that was never docketed, the one about fake documents. It was never brought forth to a committee, didn't even get a chance to get a hearing. They get to choose that. And I know that some of you guys who went to summer school for certified doer were like, what? You could have a bill and they could absolutely never pull your bill to a hearing. But they have control and they are talking really hard about reproductive rights that, choose life, but not docketing any of their own bills. None of them. So any of the bills that you heard them talk about that some of the folks in the party talk about that have to do with making access to reproductive care less available, none of them were docketed. And I think that's one of those big scared things. The country has spoken very differently. So what we did was we submitted a rules change, to say so we can discharge at least a constitutional amendment. So that's a change to the Constitution of Virginia that says that access to reproductive care is a right here, and that we're not going to mess with our stuff. So we had to hear this rule. We had to hear this rule change 5 days in a row before we could actually vote on it. And so today's the 5th day, right? So day 5, today we will vote on a rule change. If the House votes it down, we will essentially have heard 0 pieces of legislation this session about reproductive care. 0. If we vote to change the rules, then that will allow for us to vote to hear the House Joint Resolution to do the constitutional amendment. So today's a big day as it pertains to reproductive care. What I will say to you is, if this is an issue that is near and dear to you, what it looks like is the Virginia State Legislature will not hear any bills, at least on the House side. The Senate side did docket and hear some bills, but when they came over to the House, it is the prerogative of the speaker and the committee chairs to what is heard and what is not heard. So no, that's a thing. That is the nature of the game. I need y'all to understand that it does matter how many people we have in those seats, in both in the House and in the Senate. And that is why this election year is super crucial. We are at a 52-48 split with the Republican lead in the House. And the Senate is at a 22-18 or 21-19. I think with the election of now Senator Rouse, it's 22-18. So that's the splits, and it's a Democratic lean. And so it's going to make a big deal. So I encourage you guys to, if this is your thing, to find your people, get involved. We've got to educate folks on the importance of why state legislators are so important, especially when at the federal level, we're seeing them provide states with more opportunity to make their own decisions. We're going to be the last line of defense here. Any questions? I don't see any questions or comments in the chat thus far. Any questions about any legislation, about things we have going on in the community? I'll leave space. Anything? Okay, I'm going to double check some things just to make sure we're good to go. Make sure we don't have any clips or anything. What's been really important. I know I talked about the veterans. The veterans bill. We are we've got some things going on with VMI that we're going to be working on with who goes to these boards, commissions. Can I say this to you all? I know that we're going to have to do this this summer and really talk about these boards and commissions at the state level. These boards and commissions are big deal. Locally, they're a big deal. I know you've heard me talk about this, but at the state level, they're an even bigger deal. We're having issues with boards of visitors, issues with folks that deal with water, that deal with, regulations. Y'all, we need y'all to show up. I want to find everybody's expertise and give them a touch point, so that at least you can know some of the decisions that people across the Commonwealth are influencing the executive branch to do or not to do on behalf of, these are citizens, right? These boards and commissions are liaisons for us. They help us do studies. We talk about the things that are happening on these boards and commissions, make decisions based off of who is on there and what their outcomes are. But yes, good morning. Okay, so I'm gonna sneeze. Did it pass? Excuse me. So how are budget talks going? Great question, Charlene. Last week we did hear that the budget conferees, and when I say conferees, that's like I told you, when we disagree with the Senate on how something should be, there it goes into conference, and those people assigned to work it out, right? To work it out are called conferees. Typically, that's 3 people on each side. For the budget, it's much larger. For the budget, I believe there's like 6 conferees from each side, or 6 and 4, something like that. But a positive sign, Ms. Charlene, a positive sign is that we did hear last week that they met, they talked, that at least on the House side, that the subcommittees got together and talked, which means the committees. So the budget, you have the big budget committee, and then you have these subcommittees for transportation stuff in the budget, for education stuff in the budget, for public safety stuff. So there's all these different subcommittees that they are actually having communications, which is a big deal, because last year there was not a lot of communication. There was pretty much, the head honcho, the person who holds the purse strings, was the only person having the conversation with the person who holds the purse strings in the Senate. So I'm going to say that they're going. As far as we know, that the budget talks are going. I do not believe we'll have a budget bill completed by the time we dismiss for sine die, which is the last day of session, right? Before we adjourn, I was trying to think of that word. I don't think that we'll have a budget by then, so we probably will have a special session specifically for the budget, which is not unusual, right? It's not unusual, but it looks like talks are going great. If you didn't get a chance to take a look at the informational sheet that I provided, and I'm going to put it in the chat here to see the difference between the governor's budget, the House budget, and the Senate budget, to see where key choices are being made, because the budget is about choices. I think I've said this to you all. It is about choices. It is about priorities. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat for you all, just to be able to see the differences. That's a great question, and it's really the important thing to hold on to, because money talks. Money tells everything. We could have a really great bill, and it not be funded, and it needs money and it's not funded. So key thing here, I think, too, is let's see if I can get this up for you. Oh no, this was let me put the other sheet in there. This was sort of a breakdown of, there it is. Here it is. I'm going to put this in the chat for you all so that you have it. This is the second link is actually the key policy choices. You'll be able to see, it'll say key policy choices that it should be coming up to you guys right now, just so that you can see the differences between how we feel about public safety, how we feel about pre-K, higher education, healthcare. It's going to be a tough one, I think, because the governor does have a lot of tax breaks. I mean, like, he has a lot of them. It's a little frustrating. It's a little frustrating to see that what is it that they're given over $350 million in tax break, while families, the majority of family households, are only going to get $50. It underscores this ideology that we should curry some favor for corporations and not for people, and not for Virginians. So, like, these corporate tax busts will give us less money for schools, less money for healthcare, less money for roads, while there's a touting of a surplus that comes from things that are indicative of a problem. And we talked about this. So I just don't believe that we should be providing more money to large corporations. This is the worst timing. This is the worst timing to be doing that. We're already stretched thin as families due to inflations, and proposing that the middle class should pay, and I'm saying in middle class and below, and I don't even know what the middle class looks like right now. We need to reevaluate what that is. Saying that we should pay higher taxes, more taxes than the wealthiest corporation is substandard, and there's no reason that some CEO should be keeping more of what they may earn than you or I. And so that's why we're going to keep working hard for these things, right? Childcare, affordable rent, that's a whole thing. Mortgages. I just saw that they're at the federal level that they're cutting that insurance cost by 40% thereabout for new homeowners. The biggest thing, I think, our young people, we got to figure this out. We haven't figured out how to do school safety and what that means, what that looks like. We differ values wise, but whatever it is, it has to be funded. And so that's why it's going to be really important to have more people engage in this process. But I think that's it for me. I'm not going to hold you this morning. But I will say I look forward to getting back at it. I should be back to work the second week of March. After taking a week of respite, so there won't be any lives next week, 0. I will be taking the week to get reacclimated with my family, to get caught up on life, right? Maybe like clean my room, wash my dog, clean the bird cage, do those little things around the house. Be more participatory for the week, and then we'll get back at it. We will get back at it. 110. Thank you, Vince. I hope I deserve it. I'm trying to keep earning it. But until then, I look forward to seeing you on the flip side. We got to get on the ballot, so we need your help there. Go to the website, say, hey, how can I help? We need help with those petition drive-throughs, getting to folks' houses, things like that. And then we want you to join our project team, because we're going to campaign a lot differently this time, right? A lot differently. So until next time, I'm Jackie Glass, mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 89th District. So glad to be doing the morning dew with you, the doers. Be well. Make it a great day.